Following breaking news this morning, a rescue operation is underway on Mount Hood as we speak. We understand from Clackamas County Sheriff's officials that 7 people are stranded and one has fallen in the Hogsback area. We understand the person that's fallen has fallen from 700 to 1,000 feet at least. Their condition is unknown at this time. Now, the Hogsback area is a very popular area on Mount Hood. It's near the summit. Hogsback is at 10,600 feet. The summit of Mount Hood is 11,250 feet. Hogsback is on the south side of the mountain. There have been accidents there in the past. We understand from Mountain Wave Emergency Communications that they are responding to the scene right now, as well as Portland Mountain Rescue Search and Rescue. They are on their way as well. Mountain Wave Emergency is sending a ground crew right now, and they're sending a communications team. And we do have someone from Portland Mountain Rescue on the scene right now, who is on the line. Who do we have from Portland Mountain Rescue?
Hey, good morning. This is Mark Morford,
Hi, Mark.
Rescue Leader for Portland Mountain Rescue.
Yes. Can you tell us what's happening now as far as you know?
We have fairly little information other than that there has been at least one climber who's fallen from one of the main chutes up in the upper crater and needs medical assistance. So we've been deployed by the Sheriff's Office and are assembling a team to get up to the mountain.
All right, and tell us a little bit about the area in which this is happening. Hogsback is really well known for climbers who are ascending and coming down from Mount Hood. Tell us about Hogsback.
So the incident, as we understand, has occurred on one of the main south side climbing routes that are fairly popular. The conditions in the upper crater right now, as I understand it, I haven't been up there for a couple of days, but as I understand it, very firm ice surface with quite a bit of rockfall and ice fall. So we've got strong sunshine on the cliff faces. That tends to melt loose chunks of ice and chunks of rock. I don't know that rockfall or icefall is part of the incident here, but it increases the hazards for others there and for rescuers.
So we're talking about a thaw and freeze situation with the sunshine that's up there and the temperatures that are at that level, correct?
Yeah, that's right. And the amount of the snowpack on the upper mountain is lighter than usual, so conditions with the rockfall and icefall are more typical right now of what we would see much later in the year.
Now, we heard initially that there are 7 people stranded. Is that the information that you're getting, and is that confirmed yet?
So I have heard, and this is secondhand through conversations others have had with climbers on the mountain, that there are several climbers who are at the summit and are uneasy about descending because of the conditions and because of the fall that's already occurred. But I've not been able to confirm any of that information.
Now, we know that the summit of Mount Hood is about 11,250 feet. How far below the summit is Hogsback?
Hogsback sits at about 10,500 feet.
And again, as you said, it's a very popular climbing area, correct?
Correct. This is, again, the main south side route.
So what happens now in terms of the search and rescue? What do your crews and the crews from Portland Mountain Rescue have to do now?
So we are in the process right now of assembling a team. That team will have to grab their gear here in Portland. They've got to get to, or wherever they reside between here and the mountain, they have to get to the mountain. Once we have enough folks on the mountain to start up, we will probably get Snowcat to take us up to at least the top of the Palmer lift, and from there they'll have to climb. Evacuating an injured patient there will require a relatively large team with more gear to be brought up the mountain. So this is a long process.
Now, those of us who have been around here for a while, we know that there have been climbing accidents in the past at Hogsback. What can you tell us about the history of that area and climbing accidents there?
So for Portland Mountain Rescue, our most common mission on Mount Hood is a fall from the upper cliffs of the crater to, you could call it the Hogsback area, but really the lower part of the crater generally. So it's a fairly common incident for a fallen climber there. And it can result in very serious injury. Sometimes we have patients there that are just a little bruised up and shaken up from that same fall. So I don't know what conditions we can expect right now for this climber.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that update. I know that the crews will be headed there and trying to get there as fast as they possibly can to effect this rescue. But again, we thank you for your efforts. We know that this can be a really dicey time. You talk about, the thaw and freeze situation, the potential rock falls there. This can be dangerous not only for the people that are there, but for your crews as well. All right, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Was from Portland Mountain Rescue giving us the latest. Just to recap right now, we know that there has been a incident up on Mount Hood near the Hogsback area. That's at the 10,500-foot level of Mount Hood. The summit is at 11,250. We understand that the person who has fallen, as far as we know right now, and this is still developing, has fallen between 700 and 1,000 feet in that Hogsback area on the south side of Mount Hood. We also understand that there are a number of people who are stranded at the summit. The number that we have heard is 7. They are up at the summit, and because of the conditions up on Mount Hood right now, they are hesitant to try to descend because of the dangerous conditions. You heard the spokesman from Portland Mountain Rescue saying that there have been rock falls, that because it's been sunny up on the mountain, they have a thaw and freeze situation, which makes the climbing area relatively unstable. There are a number of agencies responding to the scene right now, including Portland Mountain Rescue, who we just spoke with, and Mountain Wave Emergency Communications. Those are the people who respond. They will be responding both on the ground and in an aerial manner as best as they can. We've seen accidents in this area of Mount Hood a number of times before in the past, and when the conditions are the way that they are right now, you know that the ground can be unstable, the route can be unstable, and those people who are stranded up at the summit are stranded because they are concerned about getting down from Mount Hood, from the summit, in the conditions that we have just described. This is a developing story. You can see the map right there of Mount Hood from the top. This is an aerial view, and Hogsback, as you can tell, is pretty close to the summit. We're talking about the summit being at 11,250 feet, Hogsback at about 10,500 feet on the south face of the mountain on a very popular climbing route. We don't have a lot of information right now other than the basic facts that somebody has fallen, they need to be rescued, and the rescue teams are in the process of mobilizing right now to get to where that fallen climber is. We don't know the extent of that fallen climber's injuries at this point. We probably won't know until we hear from the rescuers who get to that location. But we have very experienced mountain rescue people here who respond to Mount Hood out of Clackamas County. Mount Hood is in Clackamas County. So many of the Clackamas County rescue teams are also involved in this and are mobilizing as we speak to try to get to this fallen climber who's fallen in the Hogsback area of Mount Hood at about the 10,500 foot level on the south face of the mountain. Again, we talk about conditions. The last 3 days have been very sunny. So that entices people to go up to the mountain and try to, navigate the mountain from the summit, taking that route, which again is very popular. But what that does is that it creates a situation where there's some melting, the temperatures are still cold enough where there's refreezing, so that creates instability on that area. Now, Clackamas County Sheriff's officials, again, tell us 7 people are stranded near the summit of Mount Hood at this hour, and 1 person has fallen in the Hogsback area and fallen from 700 to 1,000 feet. That person, we don't know the identities of any of those people at this point, and we don't know exactly what their situation is right now. Let's throw it over to Claire Anderson, our meteorologist, who can tell us a little bit more about the conditions on Mount Hood and the area where this person has apparently fallen. Claire?
Well, as of right now, here's what we know for today. There's a lot of sunshine currently up at Mount Hood, so they won't be dealing with any visibility issues, which is good news there. Plenty of sunshine continues through today. The freezing level right now is right around 5,500 feet, so it is going to be cold up at the mountains. As of right now, into the Cascades, winds are not too strong. Now, still looking into the actual conditions at the Hogsback area, but conditions have been pretty mild up into the mountains. We haven't seen any major snowpack in the last several days. So again, this is good news that the visibility is clear as of right now, and we can see that currently from our camera here. So we will continue to research and look into the current conditions closer to where these people have fallen and where they are stranded. But we will, again, can check into those conditions.
Yes, we just spoke with Mark from Portland Mountain Rescue, one of the spokespeople at Portland Mountain Rescue. They are being deployed right now, and we're hearing some information from Mountain Wave Emergency Communications as well. They're responding to the scene. They're sending a ground crew. They're sending communications as well, a communications team for radio needs. They have confirmed that they've been told that it is happening on the Hogsback. Mountain Wave Emergency doesn't have any reports of 7 people stranded, but we are hearing that from other sources that there are 7 stranded above where the person has fallen in the Hogsback area at 10,600 feet. We know that there is a response happening right now. What we don't know is whether that person who has fallen is injured and the extent of those injuries. This is happening right now. We are also looking right now at your screen. You're looking at Mount Hood and the Hogsback area. For those of you who aren't familiar with climbing on Mount Hood, Hogsback is one of the most popular, it's a stop on one of the most popular climbing routes that happens when people summit Mount Hood and then return to their base of operations after they've summited the mountain. So it's very popular. We've had accidents up there before over the years. The good news about a situation like this is that we do have very professional responses to Mount Hood whenever there's an accident on Mount Hood. Now we know that we've also seen in the past that during the spring, many times, is when these accidents happen because the weather is good enough where people get sunny, it's sunshine up there, and there are a lot of invitations to go up there in terms of just the conditions. However, those conditions also create some instabilities when you talk about sunshine, in many cases warmer temperatures, and therefore we are talking about a situation where people go up but they encounter instability as well. So this is usually a little earlier than we see these kind of accidents on the mountain since we're still in winter right now. These kind of accidents normally happen in the spring, April and May. In the history of my career here has been when these type of accidents normally happen. But we've got some interesting conditions up there with the sunshine and the freeze-thaw situation. So let's head back over to Claire Anderson right now, who can give us a little more background in terms of the conditions up there.
Well, good afternoon. As of right now, we are looking at current conditions is right around 45 degrees. It's actually one of the warmest days we've seen in quite a while up at the mountain. We are looking at plenty of sunshine continuing through today. Again, it's the warmest in a week. It's currently right around 47 degrees, and it's been in the 20s. We have very light wind currently up at the mountain as of right now. Now, we do look at some high clouds that will start to move in later for today, and we actually have snow in the forecast for tomorrow. So hopefully we can figure out, or the researchers can figure out where they are and get to them now, because conditions are very mild, calm conditions as of right now, and visibility is completely clear. That will change for tomorrow. We are looking at several inches of new snow up into the mountains through tomorrow afternoon. And then for the next several days, we're also looking at snow. So that will definitely change conditions up on the mountain. But for today, still looking very clear. So we will be watching these conditions. Again, light winds, no major issues there. Currently at our latest observation stations on the mountain, and we are currently in the 40s. So that is pretty warm. We haven't had a lot of snow up at the mountain in several days as well. It's been very dry this season. Snow does move in for tomorrow night, so definitely an important factor here, the weather for today, with those changes moving in for tomorrow.
And as we can see from the pictures, Claire, it is bright and sunny up there right now, just the type of conditions that would entice people to go up for a climb on Mount Hood. But as you say, because of the temperatures and the other conditions that are happening right now, it does make it, as we say, unstable, but it also provides good conditions for the rescuers to get up there and rescue that person who has fallen and maybe get to the 7 people who are stranded at the summit. We do have a crew headed that way. We'll have the latest coming up on KOIN 6 News at noon, and you can check KOIN.com for the latest information. We'll break in again if there are new developments.